Imagine waking up. The house is completely quiet. The morning light is just beginning to filter through the windows, and before you have even fully processed the start of a new day, muscle memory takes over. You walk into the kitchen, turn on the machine, and listen to that familiar, comforting sound of brewing coffee. You pour that steaming, dark liquid into your favorite mug, take a deep breath of the rich aroma, and take your first sip on a completely empty stomach. You believe you are doing your body a favor. You believe you are waking up your mind, preparing your system for the day ahead, and engaging in a harmless, universally accepted daily ritual. But what if the medical science of longevity tells a drastically different story? What if I told you that this very first action of your day, repeated over decades, is actively dissolving the foundation of your immune system? What if that innocent, comforting cup of black liquid is the silent catalyst for unexplained fatigue, chronic joint pain, and the rapid acceleration of your biological clock? You are not just drinking a morning beverage. You are unknowingly initiating a daily chemical fire inside an organ that is desperately trying to keep you alive. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Richard Ben, and welcome back to my channel. In this channel, you will find targeted health tips, because growing older doesn't mean you have to give up your independence or your vitality. Here, we cut through the medical jargon to give you real, honest health insights. From practical senior fitness routines and mastering your medication management to simple daily habits for fall prevention, I'm here to give you the straightforward medical advice you deserve. You've worked hard for your golden years. Let's make sure you have the health to actually enjoy them. Hit subscribe and let's protect your health together. Today we are focusing on a daily habit that requires our immediate, uncompromising attention. We are going to explore the hidden mechanisms of gerontology, the science of aging, and how a seemingly benign morning routine is actively destroying a vital component of your longevity. For decades, coffee has been the undisputed cornerstone of the modern morning. It is the fuel that drives our society, the socially acceptable stimulant that we rely on to shake off the inertia of sleep. In our younger years, our bodies were resilient enough to handle the sheer chemical force of this beverage. We could consume it black, highly caffeinated, and completely fasted, without feeling an ounce of immediate consequence. Our youthful biology masked the microscopic damage. However, as we cross the threshold into our 60s and beyond, the rules of our biological machinery fundamentally change. What was once a harmless jolt of energy slowly transforms into a catalyst for structural attrition. The medical community, particularly those of us specializing in geriatric medicine and longevity science, is only now beginning to fully articulate the profound consequences of this habit. We must confront an uncomfortable reality regarding the aging body. While coffee undeniably boasts certain metabolic benefits and antioxidant properties, the habitual consumption of highly acidic, caffeinated coffee on an entirely empty stomach is silently accelerating the degradation of a foundational organ vital to your lifespan, your stomach and the extended gastrointestinal tract. To fully comprehend the magnitude of this daily assault, we must look far past the simple concept of caffeine and examine the intricate, microscopic architecture of the aging gut. The human stomach is an absolute marvel of biological engineering. It is designed to act as a highly acidic holding tank, breaking down dense proteins and neutralizing incoming pathogens. In our youth, the stomach is lined with a phenomenally robust mucosal barrier. This is a thick, highly regenerative, gel-like shield primarily composed of mucins and bicarbonate. This barrier serves one critical purpose. It protects the delicate underlying epithelial tissues from the severely caustic hydrochloric acid that the stomach naturally produces to digest food. It is a perfect, self-regulating system. When you are 25, your cellular turnover is incredibly rapid. If a highly acidic substance irritates the stomach lining, the body simply repairs it within hours. But as we advance in age, a biological phenomenon known as cellular senescence takes hold. Cellular senescence is, in essence, the aging of our individual cells. They lose their ability to divide, repair, and regenerate with the speed and efficiency they once possessed. Consequently, as we enter our senior years, this vital protective mucosal barrier naturally and inevitably thins out. The stomach's ability to secrete protective bicarbonate diminishes. The blood flow to the gastric lining decreases, slowing down the delivery of necessary nutrients required for tissue repair. You are left with a vastly more vulnerable gastric environment. Now, visualize what happens when you introduce a highly acidic, chemically complex substance like black coffee into this fasted, aging, and unprotected environment. Coffee is a remarkably complex chemical cocktail. It contains hundreds of active compounds, most notably chlorogenic acids, aliphatic acids, and of course, caffeine. When this dark liquid hits an empty stomach first thing in the morning, you are not merely signaling your brain to wake up, you are initiating a profound chemical assault on unprotected tissue. The presence of these acids, combined with the stimulant effect of caffeine, aggressively triggers the stomach's parietal cells to produce a massive surge of hydrochloric acid. This is the exact same physiological response your body would have if you just ate a heavy, dense meal. However, there is no meal. There is no food present to absorb, buffer, or neutralize this sudden flood of caustic acid. The acid has nowhere to go and nothing to break down, except the very walls of the stomach itself. Over the course of weeks, months, years, and decades, this daily ritual methodically strips away the remaining weakened mucosal defense. It is a process of microscopic erosion. Initially, you may not feel it at all. The stomach does not have the same density of pain receptors as your skin, which is why this damage is so incredibly insidious. The acid begins to burn microscopic lesions into the epithelial tissue. These are called microulcerations. As these lesions form, the tissue becomes continuously irritated, leading to chronic gastritis, a persistent, low-grade inflammation of the stomach lining. This is not a sudden, dramatic failure of the organ that sends you rushing to the emergency room. Rather, it is a slow, cumulative, and largely silent destruction of the organ responsible for extracting the very nutrients that are keeping you alive and healthy. The consequences of this gastric degradation extend far beyond the realm of simple indigestion, occasional heartburn, or the nuisance of acid reflux. It is a direct, measurable threat to your overall longevity and your health span. In the specialized field of geriatric medicine, we recognize that the gastrointestinal tract is not just a plumbing system for food. It is the absolute epicenter of the human immune system and the critical gateway for all nutrient absorption. When the structural integrity of the stomach lining is compromised, a devastating domino effect occurs throughout the entire body. Consider the mechanism of nutrient absorption, which is paramount for a thriving senior body. The stomach is responsible for secreting a glycoprotein known as intrinsic factor. Intrinsic factor is absolutely biologically essential for the absorption of vitamin B12 in the small intestine. Vitamin B12 is the molecule responsible for maintaining the health of your nervous system, producing red blood cells, and protecting your cognitive function. When chronic morning coffee consumption degrades the stomach lining, the parietal cells that produce intrinsic factor are damaged or destroyed. As a direct result, your body's ability to absorb vitamin B12 plummets drastically. You can eat all the nutrient-dense foods in the world or take the most expensive supplements on the market, but without a healthy stomach lining, those critical longevity compounds simply pass through your system unabsorbed. This localized malabsorption crisis rapidly spirals into systemic health failures. A deficiency in vitamin B12 leads directly to pernicious anemia, characterized by profound, unexplainable fatigue, weakness, and a dangerous decline in cognitive sharpness. Many seniors who complain of brain fog, memory lapses, or a general lack of energy are often misdiagnosed as simply getting older, when in reality, their brains are physically starving because their damaged stomachs can no longer process the fuel they need. But the malabsorption does not stop at B12. A damaged, highly acidic stomach environment severely impairs the absorption of elemental iron, leading to further fatigue and compromised cellular oxygenation. It drastically reduces the absorption of calcium and magnesium, two minerals that are non-negotiable for maintaining bone density and preventing the devastating fractures associated with osteoporosis. By simply clinging to the habit of drinking coffee on an empty stomach, you are systematically depriving your skeletal structure, your nervous system, and your brain of the raw materials they require to function. Furthermore, we must address the most dangerous biological consequence of a damaged gastric lining: chronic systemic inflammation. When the acid from your morning coffee constantly irritates the microulcerations in your stomach wall, it creates a localized inflammatory response. The body sends immune cells to the area to attempt repairs. However, because you repeat this chemical assault every single morning, the tissue never truly heals. The inflammation becomes chronic, In the medical field, we refer to the aging-related phenomenon of chronic, low-grade inflammation as inflammaging. This is one of the primary drivers of biological aging and age-related disease. The localized inflammation in your damaged gut wall does not stay confined to your stomach. The continuous immune response produces inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers that leak out of the gastric tissue and directly into your systemic bloodstream. Once these inflammatory markers enter your circulatory system, they travel to every single organ in your body. They travel to your cardiovascular system, where they contribute to the hardening of the arteries and increase the risk of heart disease. They travel to your joints, exacerbating the pain, stiffness, and swelling associated with osteoarthritis. They even cross the blood-brain barrier, where neuroinflammation is now recognized as a leading contributor to neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The daily, unbuffered acid bath you subject your stomach to is acting as a continuous biological trigger for systemic decay. You are essentially trading a fleeting 20-minute morning energy boost for the rapid, widespread acceleration of your biological clock. We must also examine the profound impact this habit has on the gut microbiome, the trillions of symbiotic bacteria that reside within your digestive tract. In recent years, longevity research has conclusively proven that a diverse, thriving gut microbiome is essential for a long, healthy life. These bacteria regulate our immune system, synthesize essential vitamins, and even produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which regulate our mood and mental well-being. The environment of the gastrointestinal tract is highly sensitive to pH changes. When you flood an empty stomach with highly acidic coffee, you are not only damaging the stomach itself, but you are also altering the pH balance of the entire digestive system. This daily acid wash creates an incredibly hostile environment for beneficial bacteria, leading to a condition known as gut dysbiosis. In a state of dysbiosis, the protective, anti-inflammatory bacteria begin to die off, allowing harmful, pathogenic bacteria to proliferate and dominate the microbiome. For a senior, this is a catastrophic shift. A compromised microbiome means a compromised immune system. You become vastly more susceptible to infections, viruses, and environmental toxins. The gut-brain axis, the intricate communication network between your digestive system and your brain, becomes distorted. This dysbiosis can manifest as increased anxiety, depressive symptoms, and a profound sense of physiological stress, all originating from the daily destruction of your internal microbial ecosystem. The sheer arrogance of assuming our bodies can eternally process whatever we subject them to without consequence is a mindset we must abandon if we wish to thrive in our later years. Many people listening to this are likely searching for a specific symptom, a glaring warning sign that this damage is occurring. The terrifying reality of geriatric gastroenterology is that severe damage can occur with little to no overt symptomatology. You might expect that a damaged stomach would constantly scream in pain, but the human body is remarkably adept at adaptation and compensation. You might experience what is known as silent reflux. Unlike traditional heartburn, where you feel a distinct burning sensation in your chest, silent reflux occurs when microscopic aerosolized acid droplets travel up the esophagus and irritate the throat and vocal cords without causing chest pain. You might wake up with a hoarse voice, a persistent, unexplained clearing of the throat, or a chronic dry cough that your doctor cannot quite diagnose. These are the subtle, whispering alarms of a failing gastric system. Other symptoms are often entirely misattributed to the general aging process. That lingering, heavy fatigue that sets in around 2 in the afternoon, that is not necessarily just your age. That is often the direct result of nutrient malabsorption and systemic inflammation originating in your morning coffee habit. The sudden increase in joint stiffness when you wake up, that is the inflammaging spreading through your circulatory system. The mild, intermittent nausea or the feeling of being overly full after eating only a small amount of food, that is your stomach signaling that its structural capacity and motility have been compromised by chronic irritation. We have been conditioned by society to accept these symptoms as the unavoidable tax we pay for growing older. This is a medical fallacy. These are not normal signs of aging. They are the distress signals of a body crying out for a change in environment. This brings us to a critical crossroads in how we approach our health span. The field of longevity is not about denying ourselves the pleasures of life. It is about profound, intelligent adaptation. Recognizing that your morning coffee is acting as a destructive force does not necessarily mean the absolute end of your relationship with this beverage. However, It absolutely demands a radical shift in how you respect and interact with your biological machinery. We can no longer afford to operate under the reckless, resilient habits of our youth. We must approach our daily rituals with the precision and understanding of clinical science. The medical reality is that preserving the structural integrity of your stomach lining is absolutely paramount to healthy, vibrant aging. If coffee is to remain a part of your daily life, it must be stripped entirely of its destructive context. The rule is simple, uncompromising, and biologically necessary. Coffee must never, under any circumstances, be the first substance that enters your stomach in the morning. It must be consumed strictly after a substantial meal. When you eat food first, particularly foods rich in healthy fats and complex carbohydrates, you are giving your stomach exactly what it needs to safely handle the incoming acid. The food acts as a physical sponge, absorbing the hydrochloric acid and the chlorogenic acids from the coffee. The act of eating also triggers the release of natural neutralizing enzymes in the saliva and the stomach itself, creating a buffered, safe environment. By simply waiting to enjoy your coffee until after you have eaten breakfast, you completely neutralize the chemical assault, protecting your mucosal lining while still enjoying the ritual. Furthermore, we must look at the quality and composition of the coffee itself. The deep roasting process often increases the acidity of the bean. Transitioning to intentionally low-acid coffee beans can significantly reduce the burden on your gastric system. Even more effective is the transition to cold brew coffee. The cold brewing process, which extracts the flavor over many hours using cold water instead of heat, results in a beverage that is chemically vastly different from traditional hot drip coffee. Cold brew has been shown to be up to 70% less acidic than hot brewed coffee. For an aging stomach, this difference is monumental. It provides the flavor and the gentle stimulation without the caustic chemical profile. By making these intelligent substitutions, you are actively participating in the preservation of your internal organs. Beyond modifying the coffee habit itself, true longevity requires active participation in rebuilding the damage that has already been done. The gastric mucosal barrier, while slower to heal in our senior years, is not entirely beyond repair. It requires specific, targeted nutritional support to regenerate. Hydration is the absolute foundation of this repair. The mucosal lining is primarily composed of water. Waking up and drinking a large glass of room-temperature water, perhaps with a pinch of high-quality sea salt for electrolyte balance, is the most profound biological gift you can give your stomach first thing in the morning. This simple act rehydrates the tissue, stimulates gentle motility, and prepares the digestive tract for the day without triggering a massive, damaging acid response. We must also focus on the specific building blocks required for tissue regeneration. The inclusion of high-quality collagen peptides into your daily routine provides the exact amino acids, glycine, proline, and glutamine, that the body uses to rebuild the connective tissue and the mucosal lining of the entire gastrointestinal tract. Glutamine, in particular, is an amino acid heavily utilized by the rapidly dividing cells of the gut lining for energy and repair. By providing your body with an abundance of these specific nutrients, you are shifting your biological environment from a state of chronic degradation to a state of active healing. You are giving your cells the tools they desperately need to fortify the fortress that protects your longevity. The journey of aging is heavily influenced by the daily, seemingly insignificant choices we make. We have spent our lives building careers, raising families, and contributing to the world around us. Now, the priority must shift inward. We must become the meticulous architects of our own biological preservation. The realization that a deeply ingrained habit is causing hidden harm can be jarring, but it is also a moment of immense power. It is the moment you reclaim control over your physiological destiny. You are no longer a passive participant in the aging process. You are an informed, active defender of your health span. We must evolve past the automatic, unthinking routines that no longer serve us. Every morning presents a new opportunity to either harm or heal. By choosing to hydrate first, by choosing to eat before exposing your stomach to harsh acids, and by providing your body with the nutrients it requires to repair itself, you are halting the unseen damage that steals years from your life. You are protecting your structural foundation, preserving your ability to absorb the nutrients that keep your brain sharp and your bones strong, and taking absolute control of your biological timeline. The power to age with grace, vitality, and true independence rests entirely in your hands, determined by the actions you take the moment you open your eyes. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the science of your health, And here is to your enduring, vibrant vitality.